Okay, so now I'm going to start shear scraping this form and try to get it into the final condition that I'd like on the outside before I start to move into hollowing the inside. See the very fine shavings, the very fine shavings that actually come off when you're shear scraping. Extremely fine. Most of them have disappeared here, but extremely fine, and the condition of the surface is quite nice. A couple of little blemishes that I'm going to take care of here, but I'll keep shear scraping the outside. Pretty good looking surface. There's a little blemish there I want to take care of. A little bit of torn grain. But you can see that when I shear scrape, I grip the tool very closely toward the actual flutes, and my fingers behind it supporting the tool, and I'm scraping at a shear angle with the bottom wing, and from there the top wing is roughly a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch away maximum, and I can go in both directions and get very fine shavings as a result. I think that's looking pretty good. Just to give you a quick idea of what this form looks like from my perspective, you can see here that the surface is smooth. I've got a little bit of a turned up lip where I'll start to hollow through, and I'll probably aim for around an inch of an opening there, inch wide. Toward the base here you see that I've got a lot of mass, and there's a fairly hard line, so I can envision where the bottom of the form is eventually going to be in this mass, and I'll be able to turn this away once I've hollowed it out and spun it around into a friction chuck to complete the form. Okay, so the last step here before we actually turn this piece around is to complete the hollowing. It's a fairly large step, obviously. And I'm going to actually create a little bit of a divot here with a spindle gouge, just so that I can start a drill into that, and I'll drill down to where I think the eventual bottom is going to be, or very close to it, and that'll help me with the hollowing process. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drill the inside of this down to what I would like the finished depth to be. Nothing fancy here, just a long drill, but I've actually just got a pair of vice grips on the end to hold it. Turn the lathe down to a slow, safe speed, and I'll feed this in and periodically knock out the chips as I go. Really just take it slow and keep gauging where the distance is. That's about right there. Okay, it's just about time to start hollowing this. You can see I just started to rough out the opening with a gouge. The hollowing process takes a little bit of a while, and I'm going to actually be hollowing this piece completely green. I'm not going to actually return it once it's dry, so I'm going to hollow it to finished thickness. What you see here is one type of hollowing tool. It's an arm brace style tool. In the cutter end I actually have a sharpened drill bit, kind of unique. I can show a close-up at some point as to how I sharpen that drill bit. It's a 3/8 inch bit, and it generates a little bit more of a cutting action rather than a scraping action. Obviously you can have straight scrapers or teardrop type scrapers for finishing work as well, mounted in a tool like this. There are also cutting style tools, such as this Raleigh Monroe tool, which is very nice. It's got a round cutter and a shield over the top, and depending on the size of the opening, these types of tools are very nice because they create a much cleaner cut and don't create dust from scraping, but more shavings from a cutting action. So I'll probably use a combination of both of these tools, as well as some scraping bits throughout the process here. But right now it's just time to start going at this. I've slowed the lathe speed down a little bit, not completely slow. I think it's going to be around 400 to 500 RPM. You can see that I'm starting to approach the hole, and the size of this actual bar on this tool is likely to get in the way, so I may have to switch to a smaller bar. Obviously I want to stick with a larger bar so that I can have more stability over the tool rest as I've extended farther and farther away from the tool rest. But likely this set screw that's on here to hold the cutter is going to start to get in the way minimally, so we'll probably have to switch to a smaller bar to actually finish this form. Okay, you can see I've put a smaller bar in here with a little straight cutter, and I'm going to see what I can do with this cutter before I actually have to switch over to a curved bar to get around the neck of the vessel and into the tighter corners here. At this stage I've hollowed out probably the first, in a straight fashion, the first maybe 2 inches of the form, using that center hole as my starting point, and I'm starting to widen that hole now so that I can gain access and have some room for chips as I get into the shoulder. We want to keep as much mass in the base of the piece for stability as possible as we go down the form. Eventually we'll get the top cleaned up, and or at least to a rough thickness, and then we'll be able to proceed down to the bottom in the same fashion, then eventually smoothing the entire inside wall as we go. But the point is that when you lose mass in the base, you start to get vibration out here toward the opening, and it becomes very difficult to come back up in that area once you've done so.